Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. As always, we are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion, and the moment has finally arrived. We have an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. We've been waiting for this for months, for years. We finally have it, so we are going to be breaking that down frame by frame. We're so excited. And that's not all the news. We also got some stuff from Entertainment Weekly as well, dropping a bunch of new photos and info about the series. And stick around for later in the show. We've got a very important update about Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022. All that and so much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. I'm so excited to get right into it. My name is Chris. Joining me, it's my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Yes, hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. Yeah, for once, I feel like our video description on YouTube title is accurate because we say trailer breakdown in this, and I definitely had a breakdown when the trailer launched. A good breakdown, the good kind, if such a thing exists.
For once, the faces in the thumbnail were accurate.
Yeah, there's no faking it this time. It was actual excitement. But yeah, I can't wait to get into this thing. There's so much in there, and it's I'll talk about this a little bit more in a little bit, but it's actually a good trailer too, which we've been kind of missing from live action Star Wars for a little bit. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a great show.
Heck yeah, and that other voice and face that you see, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Yeah. Trailer breakdown. These are the best episodes, I think. There's really no denying it. And especially we got a trailer like this that's been so long awaited. I'm pretty sure if it waited another day, the world would have just imploded from the hype and the anticipation. But we have it finally, and we're all still alive somehow. And this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. So we're going to be getting to that in just a few seconds. Real quick, make sure that you punch that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. You can super chat with us, and we will definitely read and respond to your comment on the screen. And we're going to try to get to as many comments as well, putting them on the screen that you leave in the chat in general as well. But super chatting is the best way that you can get our attention. You can find some merch and also financially support us over at patreon.com/the SWU. We've got exclusive content over there. That's where we talk about non-Star Wars stuff. This week, we have an exclusive video giving our spoiler-free review and thoughts on The Bat Man. And make sure that you check out Star Wars Culture, Ion Cannon, and Chatter Squadron, the other three fantastic podcasts that we have here at the Culture Slate Podcast Network. They're all on YouTube. And finally, swunderworld@gmail.com is our line for listener feedback. Drop us an email and we'll get to it as soon as the news lets us get to it. All right, let's go.
All right, let's dive right into the trailer, and let's give some initial impressions to not just the trailer, but everything that we've seen from Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, and the character in the last 48 hours or so. And Ben, as always, we're going to throw it to you first. What'd you think of what we saw from Obi-Wan?
Everything that I kind of wanted, and a whole lot more, really. And this trailer really sets us up, but doesn't give us a whole lot, really, truly, especially in regards to Obi-Wan. We get kind of some Obi-Wan at the beginning, there's a little bit in the middle, and there's some at the end. But, it is kind of like setting up this universe, this period of time, and what's going to be going on, and the fact that this show, even though it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi, will be dealing with a lot of different characters, and we'll be getting a lot from the perspective of the Inquisitors hunting him down. No appearance by Vader, nothing like that, but definitely feel his presence and hear it. But just an incredible looking trailer. I think all around, really kind of what I was looking for in regards to like, hey, this is delving into this, and this is something we've been wanting for so many years. Back before he was even confirmed, it was like, it'd be a great idea if they got Ewan McGregor back to do an Obi-Wan thing. And now we're here. It just is kind of hard to believe that we've come this far. And finally, it's here.
Yeah, finally. That's the right word for it. Chris, what about you? What do you think overall of what we saw from Kenobi?
Wow. It's fascinating because I'm comparing this to my reaction to like the first sequel trilogy trailer, the Force Awakens teaser that we got back in 2014. And really, that's the only thing that I can compare this to as far as my level of excitement. That was so special because it was the first trailer for a Star Wars movie, live action movie, that we'd gotten since 2004. So 10 years waiting for that. I feel like in a lot of ways, this Kenobi trailer is been anticipated for really almost 20 years, because while we got the sequels, there really weren't a lot of connections between the sequels and the prequels that a lot of us grew up with. And it was very much aimed and targeted at fans of the original trilogy, and also to bring in new fans that didn't know anything about Star Wars. Whereas this trailer here and this show seems to be very much equally, if not fully, targeted at people that are in our demographic, people that grew up with the prequels, the Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels. And so having experienced Star Wars fandom in that era of 1999 to now, with these fantastic animated series and the prequel films, seeing this live action reprisal and adaptation of these things really brings a level of excitement to me that is unparalleled, that I think is even beyond some of the feelings that I was feeling when I was seeing the first trailer for The Force Awakens. And so I've watched this trailer countless times, and every time I'm just as hyped, just as engrossed by it as I was the first time. Between just the visuals and how jam-packed it is with information about the series and the characters that are going to be in it, to the just absolutely phenomenal and incredibly endlessly nostalgic John Williams score in this trailer. I mean, they're referencing so many prequel and even lesser known prequel motifs, like Anakin's dark deeds, for example, amongst the great hits like Battle of the Heroes and Duel of the Fates. So there's so much that makes this trailer a great trailer. There's going to be so much to break down in it. And I'm so excited. I see this as a grand slam on the first inning for marketing of this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I watched the trailer I watched the entire Disney investors call leading up to the moment when they dropped the trailer, which was interesting. But the trailer itself, was enough to just sort of get you to forget all of the insanity that had preceded it, and it was so good. I remember after I watched the Book of Boba Fett trailer, like a couple of weeks after it had first come out, like after we had seen the trailer for the first time, we'd gotten over the excitement of, oh my God, a new Star Wars thing. And I was able to just look at the trailer as a trailer. And I was like, this isn't that great a trailer. And then I looked back at the Mandalorian season 2 trailer. I'm like, this isn't a great trailer either. And I was sort of wondering, like, are the days of great Star Wars trailers done? Because the sequel films, whatever you think of them, they had great trailers. Like Rise of Skywalker is my least favorite movie, but the final trailer for that movie was incredible. I remember having my mind blown by it. And I can think of, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rogue One, all had similar moments. And when you go back and look at the prequel trailers, there's some really incredible stuff in there. The Clone Wars and Rebels always had terrific trailers. And even Bad Batch has a pretty good trailer. But I was sort of thinking like, oh man, these Disney Plus shows, the live action ones, they just, I don't know, they aren't putting the same pizzazz into the trailer. And with this one, I felt like, oh, it's back. This is what I was missing from my Star Wars hype about the future, was something like this that, it showed us, I think, what we wanted to see and teased what was to come in the story. It gave us that look at Obi-Wan, showed us young Luke. We got a quick glimpse at Uncle Owen, and we started to meet the villains, and it teased what was coming down the line. And so I thought just as a trailer, just as a 2-minute piece of entertainment, forgetting that it's, setting up 6 weeks of stories, I thought that was just really, really cool and really, really fun. And then to come along with all of the Entertainment Weekly stuff, just made for a great little 24 hours of just pure Obi-Wan Kenobi goodness and Obi-Wan Kenobi greatness. So let's dive into the trailer, and let's talk a little bit about the man himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Chris, I'll throw it over to you. What did you make of what we saw of Obi-Wan in the material so far?
Man, this slide right here has been so anticipated that we've seen it faked hundreds of times in the last 10 years. There's been these films where Ewan McGregor has played characters in the desert, and people have taken screenshots from them and passed them off as what legitimately this image is, a picture, a still from this series. So first of all, just going in with so much hype and so much anticipation, we've been waiting to see this exact shot for so long. It's been in our fantasies for so long, and now it's finally, this is real. It's kind of hard to even believe this is actually real. Like, literally, I saw this picture being shared around after the trailer came out, and I'm like, is that from the trailer, or is it just one of those fakes again? No, it's from the trailer. So yeah, I mean, he looks, like you would expect. He looks like an older version of what we saw in Revenge of the Sith. And I've heard some people say that he's starting to look a little Alec Guinness like. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to say that he has an uncanny resemblance to Alec Guinness. But I definitely think that, when you see that, that's Obi-Wan, and that means they did their job. That is Obi-Wan Kenobi right there. That is the character that we know and love and grew up with. That is the negotiator. He's there. He's about to say hello there. You can just see it about to come out of his mouth.
You can see it in his eyes. Yeah. Ben, what about you? What'd you think of Obi?
Yeah, I think this trailer does an excellent job of not only setting the tone, but also catching us up and somehow, giving us kind of an emotional update for Kenobi, and, giving us this. Not only does he, he's noticeably looking older, and, he's got some hair coming down the back that, he wasn't there last time we saw him. He's got the mullets back, which, and there's other stuff going on, and just his expressions and all that stuff, obviously props to Ewan McGregor, who, without saying a word on screen, still manages to portray so much emotion. And, from the moment he's kind of sitting there kind of with his, his hands in his lap and kind of looking down on the bus, the space bus, the train, which interesting to see that from Book of Boba Fett show up, and that shot, and, just this introspective, like, this guy's been through hell, and now he's having to live on this dust ball and experience all this, and, and it makes me like going into this knowing that, okay, this guy has to bring his A game. He's going to be facing Vader again. He's going to be facing a huge problem. There's Inquisitors. There's all this stuff happening. And I'm scared for him because he feels like he's not at the top of his game anymore. He's out of practice. I'm pretty sure there's a shot in here where he's using a blaster. He's not even using his legs.
How uncivilized.
And that's like, it's scary because, like, you know, he's trying not to be a Jedi. He's just trying to survive on this planet, and you can see in his face that it's not going well. And that's scary, and that's, you know, what he has to face, and he has literally the most important job in the galaxy. But you know, it's not his time yet, but it might be soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting to see him in what we've seen so far, and what stood out to me less so in the trailer, but more so in the Entertainment Weekly stuff, is how like grubby and dirty he looks.
Yeah,
like he looks like a dude who has stopped taking care of himself. You know, he's not our heroic Jedi, you know, beacon of light that he was in the prequel trilogy, and he's not even the sort of wizened old desert wizard that we know from the original trilogy, or even Star Wars Rebels for that matter. He looks like a dude who's given up, and you know, we in the little moments we see of him, like you said, Ben, you know, on the train, or you know, there's a shot where he looks like he's just like chopping something up, like he's just going about his like boring everyday life, trying to make the best of it. And I think you know, I think he's you know, something's going to happen that's going to draw him in. But I think people should be ready at the beginning of this show to have a Last Jedi Luke-esque Obi-Wan, someone who is kind of questioning what they're doing, questioning their faith, questioning what is their purpose in life at this point. And you know, we know what his purpose is. We know his purpose is little Luke, which, what a great moment that was in the trailer. I was so glad they didn't hide that. I was so glad. Yeah. Like, and it's hilarious. You read the Entertainment Weekly article and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Are we going to see Luke in this or not? And it was clearly written before the trailer was finished being cut, or the people who wrote it and did the interviews didn't know that the trailer would have this Luke in there. And so I'm glad they're not hiding that fact. I'm glad they're just showing us that Luke is in there. But you look at little Luke in that shot in the trailer. He looks like Anakin.
Yeah,
and he looks like Anakin when Obi-Wan first met him. And, you know, Obi-Wan's watching Luke from afar. He's looking through those binoculars. Kind of creepy, Obi-Wan. Let's be real, kind of creepy. But we know his motives are pure. But I can't help but wonder. You know, he sees that Luke, and and in his mind he's thinking about Anakin. And I wonder if Obi-Wan at this moment in his life is thinking, you know, I failed Anakin. I couldn't help him. He fell to the dark side. I couldn't be there for him when he needed him, or when he needed me. Maybe the best thing for this kid is for me to get out of here and not be a part of his life. Maybe the best thing I can do for Luke Skywalker is to stay as far away from him as possible. And, you know, in that sense, you know, he may be still committed to protecting Luke. You know, he hasn't necessarily given up on that part of his sacred mission, but he may have given up on the part of his sacred mission where he is going to train Luke so that Luke can one day, you know, take down the Empire. He might have given up on that part of it. So I think we'll see an interesting version of Obi-Wan who might be unfamiliar, and it might be a bit jarring for some audiences, the same way grumpy old man Luke was in Last Jedi. You know, people want the hello there. And I think we'll get to that point. We'll get to that point where Obi-Wan gets a bit of that twinkle in his eye back, because he has that in A New Hope. He says hello there in A New Hope. It's all full circle. But at this moment in life, I think he's not that. That is the face of a beaten, broken man that we see over and over in this trailer.
And you know, you watch Revenge of the Sith, and you see that moment in Padme's ship when they're flying away from Mustafar. He just kind of has his head in his hands, and you're just like, this guy is broken. He's totally just like beyond everything. And then you catch up with him in A New Hope. He's like, hello there. And, come here, my little friend. Like, he's so jovial. And you're like, wow, like, 20 years obviously can do a lot to a person. And things have changed. But he's so conflicted and full of sadness in Revenge Sith, and so at peace in A New Hope. So much so that he's smiling when Vader cuts him in half. Like, what happened to him in this 20-year period, 19-year period, technically speaking? And like, what happened now? It's been 10 years. A lot. I don't know if you noticed, 10 years is a long time. We've been doing this podcast for over 10 years. That's a long time. We did something fun with that 10 years. Imagine you're stuck on a planet, a dust planet, just for guard duty, just watching. And I love all this. Also in this trailer, it illustrates that, like, something I never really thought about, but kind of thought about was like, what does he do for money? How does he survive? Like, I think it was in one of the visual dictionaries will be like, oh yeah, he traded with the Jawas and that's how he got money for something. Like, no, that's he can't. He would like make stuff to trade with Jawas. No, like this guy is having to like go out. He's lived this pampered life, growing up on Coruscant and living in the Jedi Temple, have this massive support system. And yeah, he fought in the war. That was bad, but like ultimately he had a family. Doesn't have any of that now. And like, what does that do to a person? And is he having second thoughts?
Yeah, there's the picture that Entertainment Weekly put out of him in the cave, and I think we're sort of led to believe that that's where he's living right now. Oh. He doesn't have his cute little hovel with his samurai sword hanging on the wall and treasure chest full of goodies. Like, again, this is, like you said, Ben, this is somebody who's broken. This is somebody who he lost his family and now doesn't believe he's worthy of one again. So he's just living in a cave, totally minimalist. None of the comforts that he enjoyed in his previous life. It's almost like he's punishing himself for it. Almost like
there's probably a lot of self-loathing going on here too, because when he faces Vader again in A New Hope, he's at peace with it. He's not like beating. He's not even pulling a Luke in Last Jedi. He's not like, I'm sorry. He's like, okay, you made your choices. I'm going to fight you. You got to wonder like what changed and what we're going to see in this show is going to set that up, that Kenobi can kind of deal with this and move on with his life and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the comparison between Qui-Gon's demeanor and Obi-Wan's demeanor in the Phantom Menace in that Darth Maul fight. You have Qui-Gon meditating in the middle of the fight, and he seems to have that calmness and serenity that an older version of Obi-Wan ends up having. But then you see after Qui-Gon dies, you see there's a lot of rage in the young Obi-Wan there. And I think the Obi-Wan that we're seeing here is halfway between those two things. And so that's the development that is before us that I think we're kind of excited to see here. And there was one of the big things that was a question about the series that wasn't hinted at in the trailers, at least I didn't see anything about it, is Qui-Gon going to factor into this at all? And I think ultimately either Qui-Gon will play a role in his conversations with Obi-Wan and bringing Obi-Wan to that point of acceptance and that point of serenity, or just naturally the events that unfold are going to kind of push Obi-Wan in that direction and develop his character that way. Either way, we're in for a change to get from where we are in this trailer to where we are in A New Hope, and that's very exciting. But I think it's very clear Obi-Wan, he's not to that Qui-Gon level yet at this point.
And when I hear Obi-Wan saying we lost at the beginning of the trailer, my first thought was he's talking to Qui-Gon. That was my first thought. And I still will stand by that until I'm maybe proven wrong. And also I get like from this, like, yeah, he might be living here in this cave. He probably is, because that would match like the absolute despair he's in. But like also I got some vibes that this could be kind of a Force type place, and maybe he goes here to commune with Qui-Gon. Just saying.
Yeah, I got that same vibe as well, Ben, that this looks like the perfect place to commune with your old buddy through the Force. It just has, it has kind of a, for whatever reason, it makes me think of the location on Mortis where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon commune for the first time.
Oh, the
and,
blue, yeah.
Yeah, something about it just, it lingers in my brain as that connection. And, you know, I'm wondering what role, you know, Obi-Wan communing with Qui-Gon. Sorry, I'm feeling a little under the weather, I'm sure, as everybody can tell. So if my voice
You've
starts
been
to,
out in a desert for 10 years too.
so if my voice starts to fade, I do apologize. But you know, Obi-Wan, yeah, I wonder what role the Qui-Gon communing is going to play in it. That's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
Is because I could see a situation where maybe Qui-Gon, he is communing with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's trying to poke him and go, no, get out there, do things, help, be the Jedi Master that you're meant to be. Or I can see a situation where Obi-Wan can't commune with Qui-Gon, at least not at the beginning of the series. He hasn't mastered whatever he needs to master to be able to do that. And perhaps part of why he feels like such a failure is not just his failure with Anakin, but his failure in this sort of second mission that Yoda gives him, the training that he has for him to work on in his solitude on Tatooine. And, you know, if it's been a decade where he can't, and he still can't figure it out, maybe he's just sort of totally out of it. He doesn't believe he can do it anymore. And, you know, it's interesting, you know, Obi-Wan says to Luke in Return of the Jedi, you know, to become a Jedi, to truly become a Jedi, you must face Darth Vader again. And for Obi-Wan to truly become a Jedi Master, maybe he must face Darth Vader again.
It's true.
And, you know, for Obi-Wan, you know, to find, as part of the hero's journey, right, is to find, you know, the ultimate power that you're after, the thing that you're after, which is, you know, the ability to see everybody as one, which, you know, Force Ghosts, all that works into that in an interesting way. But to get to that, you have to face your deepest fears. And what better physical manifestation of Obi-Wan's greatest fears is there than Darth Vader? He represents his failures with Anakin, his failures in the Clone Wars to stop Sidious. Even the fact that you know, he just everything that so much that went wrong in Obi-Wan's life is tracked back to that, to his failures with Anakin and Vader. So Vader represents that fear. And so if he is to truly become what we know he will become, he has to face Vader again. And, you know, you look at Rebels, right? Maul says to Kenobi, and when they meet in Rebels, you know, look at you, you know, rat out in the desert. And Obi-Wan says, look what I've risen above. And I think Obi-Wan's going to have, there's going to be a moment in this where Obi-Wan meets Vader and perhaps could kill him in anger, in rage, in a blind hate. Maybe he chooses not to. Maybe he tries to give Anakin that another chance. He tries to give him that second chance, and he chooses the Jedi way. And then so when Anakin says he can't, so when Anakin doesn't take that option, when Anakin chooses to continue to be Vader and continue to be the Emperor's right-hand man, that's why Obi-Wan is so sure in Return of the Jedi that there's nothing that can be done to save his friend. That's why he's so sure that the only way to save the galaxy is to kill Anakin, is for Luke to kill Anakin. So this could all tie together so many interesting things, and bring together not just, you know, Obi-Wan's connections from the prequel trilogy with Anakin and Qui-Gon, but also establish and give more context to his choices with Luke in the original trilogy. This show, somebody in the chat called it episode 3.5. if it goes where we hope it goes, or where I hope it goes, yeah, I think it will be episode 3.5 essentially. Yeah. And it's right smack in the middle too. So it's perfect for episode 3.5.
That was really my kind of like simplest reaction to the trailer was, oh my gosh, this is like if George Lucas had done movies in order. There we go, it's Joel. This kind of is like episode 4. Like this is the episode 4 in the order that the original trilogy never existed, and another movie came after the prequels. I think it very much feels like more of a sequel to the prequels than Solo and Rogue One were. Rogue One and Solo were very much prequels to the original trilogy, not sequels to the prequels. Despite Solo feeling a little bit more grounded, I felt like in the overall Star Wars universe than Rogue One was. I still feel like they were much more attached to the original trilogy. So this is our first real spin-off of the prequel trilogy that we're getting in live action. And that's really incredible. And so there's so much more space now to work with the characters because, you know, Luke and Han, especially, a lot has been done with them. A lot has been done with those characters. A lot less has been done with Obi-Wan and his relationships to other characters like Vader. So a lot of space here to write some really interesting stuff.
Well, and you look at this trailer in particular, you know, it for the first time in a while, I think maybe only leaving out like the Clone Wars season 7 trailer or whatever, really hones in and uses those prequel themes, prequel characters, and prequel music to illustrate, you know, the trailer as a whole. Whereas we've heard the Force theme 1,000 times in 1,000 different trailers, and especially recently, and it's a great theme. You can't really blame them, but you know, there has been so much emphasis and so much nostalgia for the original trilogy, and being the sequel movies and even the spin-off movies were largely spin-offs of the original trilogy. You know, they pushed on that hard, and it was great. But it's great to also kind of scratch another nostalgia itch, which is the prequel trilogy for a lot of people, for a whole generation of people. And this trailer is doing that. Not just bringing back Ewan McGregor, but Joel Edgerton, and you know, even Bonnie Peace is in there for a second. You know, and Baru, and like there's so much other stuff in here. And yes, Duel of the Fates, blasting, that never ever will get old. It never does get old.
Yeah, we got a super chat here from Joel. Joel says, "One hope of mine is Kenobi calls Vader Anakin until the moment he gives, and then when he gives up, he calls Anakin Darth, a master of evil."
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be something else.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. I think that would be terrific because, you know, like in A New Hope, Obi-Wan calls Vader Darth because at the time when George wrote that movie, Darth Vader's name was Darth Vader. Darth was his first name. Vader was his last name. Yeah. That's just how it was. But you know, I've always loved the recontextualization that's like Obi-Wan trying to like slap Anakin down. Like he's not even like he's almost kind of mocking him. He's almost kind of teasing him that you're just Darth. You're not Anakin. You're not my brother. You're not all of those things that we were. You're just some guy in a mask, a child in a mask, as Snoke would say. That would be a terrific moment if we had him calling him Anakin all the way through until one moment calls him Darth. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, and I think I've always put like a lot into the scenes where Obi-Wan's not talking, you know, or like the moment that I always prescribed is the moment that Obi-Wan accepts that Anakin is too far gone, is the moment where he says, "Only a Sith deals in absolutes," and he pulls out his lightsaber. That's always been the moment of like, okay, he didn't want to fight him. He genuinely came to Mustafar to try to save him, but he realizes now that it's too far gone and he has to put an end to this. But I mean, and you can still say that can still be true, but it can also going and living on Tatooine for 10 years, maybe Obi-Wan's like, what did I do wrong? How many times have you had an argument with someone and you think, what could I have said differently? What could I have done differently to make it go either way? Or, and in extreme cases, having a falling out with someone and realizing one thing, he had this in the most extreme case possible, almost killing his best friend. That moment's going to be replaying in his head for all those 10 years, every day. And, this could be, him being in this place of just pure sadness and desperation. Maybe he does, I still like the idea that, like, maybe the Inquisitors captured him. Maybe he gives himself up. He's like, hey, take me to Vader. I'm going to try this again. Obviously none of that's in the trailer. That's just me going crazy here. But, I like this whole where this is going.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked a lot about, Anakin and Obi-Wan and their relationship and the context of the prequel trilogy. And, one of the things that's really exciting about this show, and it's really interesting, is that we're getting two of the three main leads back from the prequel trilogy, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ewan and Hayden. And one thing that I hope and I think should be in the series is some kind of presence from that third lead. And I'm not saying I think Natalie Portman's going to show up. I'm not saying I don't think we're going to get a Padme cameo. Although stranger things have happened, you never know.
Don't rule it out.
But I kind of feel like Padme's memory and her influence and her legacy should play into this show some way, somehow, because, where Obi-Wan, Ben, you say Obi-Wan goes to Mustafar, thinks he can save Anakin, and walks away believing he couldn't. There's one person who still believed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Padme says to him, there's still good in him. And, maybe that's a thought that's been lingering in Obi-Wan's head for 10 years. Or maybe somebody else who knew Padme well could show up in this series and suggest to Obi-Wan and remind Obi-Wan that Padme still believed until the very end. Could be Qui-Gon, could be Yoda, could be Bail Organa.
Bail. That's what I thought of immediately when you said that. Bail is always Bail is always presented, and definitely this was the case in the Clone Wars series. He's always been presented as a character that's kind of branched off from Padme. Bail has a much closer relationship with Padme than he does with Obi-Wan or Anakin or Ahsoka or any of these other characters. I think that would be a great way to bring back that side of things, because you definitely have a lack of balance there with Padme dying in Revenge of the Sith. You have 1/3 of that mix that make the prequels gone, and it would be very difficult to have a balanced story without that kind of civilian diplomat side being told to it. So I really hope that that Jimmy Smits comes into this series and has not as just a cameo, because I can see them easily doing something like that, being like, oh, here's a scene and look, it's Bail over like a few seconds. Like, I can see them doing that. That's not what I'm talking about. I want to see him have a real important impact on Obi-Wan's character, and I think that carrying through that message of hope that Padme had, I think it would be an amazing way to do that.
Yeah, the Bail Organa character is one that I feel like probably should have had more of a role in the prequel trilogy. This is Leia's adopted father. I think he should have been more involved in the story, and I think they've done interesting things with him here and there in Rebels and Clone Wars to try and weave him a bit more into the larger arc of the prequel era. But he's still largely missing from the story. He's an important character, but we don't spend a ton of time with him. And I think, bringing him in and you have an actor of the quality of Jimmy Smits, you might as well use him. Bringing him in and having a heart-to-heart between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Bail Organa. These were Padme's friends. Take Anakin out of the equation. These were people who were Padme's friends. These were people who loved her, regardless of Anakin Skywalker. And so, a moment where the two of them commiserate over the loss of their friend, and Bail probably knows the truth, and he might remind Obi-Wan that, she still believed until the very end. And then that could be what inspires Obi-Wan to go after Vader. And not just protect people from Vader, but actually seek Vader out. And what could make Obi-Wan truly believe that the Anakin he knew is dead, is if he tried to win him over by reminding him of Padme, by reminding him of his love, of a net positive in his life, and Anakin not going for it. I think if Obi-Wan remembers this, that could be he could think that's his ultimate card. His ultimate card to get Anakin back. Is the ace up his sleeve. And when Anakin doesn't go for it, he's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
I've always been fascinated by the idea of the fact that there really is a select few people in the whole galaxy that know what really happened and what's really going on. And not just from a galactic standpoint of like Palpatine's a Sith Lord and he controlled the entire war and all this kind of stuff. It's like, what happened with Padme? What happened with Anakin? And Bail Organa is one of those select few. And he's not some great Jedi master or anything like that. He's just a guy who, was at the right place at the right time, who ultimately decided to step up. And I love the idea of like bringing him back into this and having him reconnect with Obi-Wan. He would probably know where Obi-Wan is. I mean, he's had to, because he sends Leia there in A New Hope. Like, there's that whole plot that's really kind of been off screen, but it's there. And, I would love it if, we have the thing in Rebels, and there's a lot of Rebels references in this. Mm-hmm. I would love it if we got something similar to what Ezra does in Rebels, which is commune with Yoda. Yeah. It'd be cool to see some scenes between Obi-Wan and Yoda. And maybe it's in that cave. Maybe that's that Force cave, and where he can just go and just hang out with Yoda, and that's why he's living there, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I hadn't even thought about Yoda being in there, but it's got to happen. It's got to happen now. I gotta think. Yeah, that's another one where you have the opportunity to show a new scene between Obi-Wan and Yoda. I think you have to go for it. I think there's enough there that it's worth taking some time out of the story to do that, to go there.
And that's, again, not even out of the story. Like, I'm sure it would have a major impact on what's going on if they were to include it.
For sure.
And two other people I want to bring up that also seem to be in the know is the return of Owen and Beru. Yes. And those characters that it's funny, way back, I used to study, before I had access to the internet, I would study these visual dictionaries and what have you. And I remember one of them explaining that Owen and Beru had no idea what happened, and that Obi-Wan had lied to them or something like that. They didn't know what happened to Anakin or Padme. I'm like I was disappointed, because I'm like, this is canon and this is dumb. And now I'm like, I'm glad that's not canon, because I love the idea. I love watching A New Hope going like, that was just a crazy old man. And then like, oh, that's what I'm afraid of. Like, Owen and Beru, like, they are in on this. They know. And I love that Joel Edgerton is back. He's in this role. Yeah. Acting, incredible actor. And I think Deborah Chow was like, thank you, George, for casting this guy, because he's amazing. And I'm like, yes, I'm glad you're using him, because this is great. But just also the whole idea of like, bringing them in. He's apparently facing off with an Inquisitor. That's just weird. I want to know what's going on there. But also just these characters getting more in these characters' heads and figuring out, okay, what is their deal? What do they know what happened? I'm assuming they know everything, because they're literally, along with Obi-Wan, have one of the most important jobs in the galaxy, which is raising this kid and making sure he turns out okay. They don't get enough credit for making sure that Luke was literally a decent person, okay? They're literally his parents, and they made sure he didn't grow up to be an asshole, okay? I'm just gonna say that, okay?
Well, and I mean, you mentioned it, Ben. Uncle Owen has a stare down with an Inquisitor. Yeah. You know, I think Owen. I'm really excited to see Uncle Owen in this. I cannot believe. Like, that feels wrong to be excited to see Uncle Owen in a Star Wars thing. Like, Uncle Owen in A New Hope is the guy stopping you from going on the adventure. He's the guy trying to stop the adventure from happening. But I love the idea of recontextualizing him as someone who is more involved, has more going on. He's not just, a stand-in for George's father who didn't understand what he wanted to do in becoming a filmmaker, right? He's not just trying to stop Luke from going to the academy for no good reason. He genuinely, I believe Owen stands for something, and he believes in something. And the fact that we see him staring down an Inquisitor, that to me suggests he's somebody who's willing to stand up for what's right and stand up for those around him. And, he's not going to back away when things get tough, when things get scary. He might, I'm not saying he's going to get into a fight with Reva here, but he might be the one person who tells her, like, hey, you've made your point. Stop messing with the people of Tatooine. And I love, I would love to see that. And I'm genuinely so excited for Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And I feel like if George heard me say that, he'd be like, what's wrong with you? Those are the real villains.
Oh, man. No, I'm so excited by this, too. I mean, I think, first of all, it's absolutely amazing that Joel, went on from Star Wars to do so many incredible films. I mean, Boy Erased, Red Sparrow, and Black Mass are all three incredible films that everybody should watch. Specifically for me, I would say if you watch one, Boy Erased, just for its kind of sociological and psychological implications, is a really amazing film. So he's an incredible actor. So seeing him go from kind of a more of a background character in Star Wars as he was in the prequels to potentially one of the leads or major characters in the show is just so exciting. And then that's out of universe. In universe, what's so exciting about this is I'm just thinking about the emotion that is packed into those final few scenes of Revenge of the Sith, and how amazing they are, and how you have that scene with Owen and Beru holding Luke and looking out at the twin sons. And just it was amazing to just tie it to the beginning of A New Hope. But now that we know that this is also foreshadowing this series, it just kind of like takes something that's so emotionally powerful and it gives it an opportunity to expand into something else that is then going to feed back into itself. So what's amazing about this is not only are we going to get a really good emotional flow from the end of Revenge of the Sith into this series that is going to make us really care about the series from the get-go. The second we see Joel on screen, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to have some of those emotions back that we had at the end of the prequels. But also, it's going to add to the prequels. It's going to add to that moment, because after we watch this series, we're going to go back and we're going to see that last scene of the prequels. And we're not just going to be thinking about how it's tying Revenge of the Sith into A New Hope. We're going to be thinking about how it's tying it into this series, and everything that Joel Edgerton is able to bring to this character of Uncle Owen in this show is now going to be added in to every time that we see him in the prequels. And that's going to make the prequels stronger. It's going to make Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith stronger. And just like the Clone Wars added to every time we saw those characters in those films. So, yeah, this is a really great choice. And gosh, there's so much space to flesh out this character. There's been so little material about him. I'm beyond excited for this.
It really is like, these are characters they really could have glossed over. They really could have just said, hey, they're stand-ins. They're, you see him off at the distance and that's it. And Obi-Wan's going off to another planet to have another adventure or whatever else. I love that they're really making them characters in this show and giving them some time to flesh out, because they haven't. I think, we talk about it, like the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy have their shortcomings in regards to like not giving certain characters their due, and characters that are vitally important to the story, so much so that you really don't even get a good grasp of like how important this character is, because their part in it is so small. And the scenes that are in A New Hope with Owen and Beru are so powerful, and the stuff in the prequel trilogy, fleeting as it may be, is very powerful and very awesome. And I think given these characters and just watching their scenes, and obviously in A New Hope you have all these things about Luke can't stay here forever, that great conversation. And obviously in the context of just that movie, especially back in 1977, it was like, okay, they're afraid that Luke's going to go off and get himself killed like he did his father under mysterious circumstances. It's much more interesting to think Owen and Beru know what happened. They know that Anakin became Vader, and they don't want that to happen to Luke. And I also think about the idea of like Obi-Wan in this case. He's out there like being a peeping Tom, watching these people, and they're probably tired of it. And like he has to be asking himself, like, I've been here for 10 years, and I was trained as a Jedi from when I was a baby. Why am I not training this kid? And the simple answer is like, probably because Owen and Beru don't want him around at all. And why is that? And you just that old question of like, what is their psyche? What do Owen and Beru, especially Owen, does he blame him for what happened to Anakin? Did Obi-Wan have so much self-loathing that he told them like, hey, look, I screwed up, and that's the reason they hate him? I don't know. I'm also looking, obviously Owen's going to have some good stuff. I hope we get some good stuff with Beru too.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Let's talk a little bit about some of the villains in this series.
Yes.
We'll say we've talked a lot about Vader already a little bit, and we can touch on him some more later. But let's talk about what we actually see in the trailer, and we see a bunch of Inquisitors, including our newest Inquisitor, Reva or Reva. I'm going with Reva because it seems like it's based on Revan, but
Yeah.
it could be Reva. You never know. Played by Moses Ingram. Chris, I'll throw it over to you. What did you think of what the glimpses we got of this new character, as well as just the fact that we're seeing Inquisitors in live action in this show?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have the strongest feelings towards just Inquisitors as a whole being in there, as opposed to her character, because what it really does is it ties things into Star Wars Rebels, and that's what I think is one of the most incredible things that this trailer did. Was it basically said, remember the prequels, remember the Clone Wars, remember Star Wars Rebels. Well, all that stuff is relevant. We are going and making more stories based on those characters, and I think that is incredible, especially with Star Wars Rebels, which is a series that is, I think, about to really pop off as being like required Star Wars canon viewing. Like I know a lot of people have slept on that series, and it wasn't the best Star Wars that has ever been made, but there were some moments in it that were incredible, and there were some good canon things that came up within that series, like for example the Inquisitors, that were really cool. And so I think that between what we're going to see in some of the other shows, like the Ahsoka show for example, and this show, Kenobi, like yeah, it's really making those characters relevant. So this is super exciting to see them. I was just beside myself that there were so many Inquisitors in this trailer. It's one of the things that makes it really amazing. I like that they're doing a mixture of bringing in characters that we know and then bringing in new characters. I think it's a good balance. I think sometimes they can go too far on one or the others. So that's great. But speaking specifically about Moses Ingram's Inquisitor, yeah, I mean, obviously she looks cool, and I can't wait to see more from the character. It's hard to kind of judge based on what we've seen so far. I have more emotions attached to seeing the other two because I know more about them. But I think that it's great to have her in there as well. And I'm excited. I think as a trio, they seem extremely formidable and fleshed out.
Yeah, Ben, I know, Ben, you have some thoughts on the returning Inquisitors, and we'll get to those in a second. But real quick, just give us your thoughts on the quick glimpses at the new ones that we got.
No, this is very interesting to see. We've got some through the comics and Rebels or whatever. We've got some really interesting, alien versions of Inquisitors, which have been great. Some of which we see in this trailer. But it's cool to see just a human and very cool looking, if I might add. Like I love her costume, love everything about that, and we get another one that we haven't seen before too. But I'm honestly, I think I'm most excited to see Moses Ingram's character. I think that the fact that she has a name, we've never what is the deal with that? Is she maybe higher up than some other Inquisitors? That she gets a name more than anyone else. I don't know what's going on there, but it's really cool. And obviously we get the base and everything like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love how cool the Inquisitor hangout is.
Awesome. Yeah, and clearly this is Fortress Inquisitorius from Jedi Fallen Order. I like the idea that someone put out there that and I can't give them credit because I can't remember who they said this, but basically that it could be that Kenobi came up with that idea first, and that Jedi Fallen Order just kind of used it in tandem.
Yeah,
and it was always meant to kind of show up here first, but being that this show has been kind of in development hell for quite a few years, it just now we're seeing it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Would be a really neat just bit of coincidence, happenstance, accident. I like it. If that's how that plays out.
I think it's very likely because again, we were hearing about talks for the Kenobi movie, as it were, 10 years ago. It was a while ago. It feels like.
Yeah, and if you read the Entertainment Weekly article, they go over some of not in a ton of detail, but they go over a little bit of the evolution of this project from film to TV series, and when they actually brought Ewan on board and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the returning Inquisitors. We got two of them. We got the Grand Inquisitor, and we got the fifth brother.
Yeah.
So Ben, I'm going to throw it over to you. What are your feelings? How are you feeling about seeing the look of these Rebels characters translated into live action?
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, isn't it? It's caused quite a stir online. I think understandably so. It's different. You can expect it to be a little bit different in the show versus animation, and you should expect that at this point, especially after certain characters we've gotten in regards to that. Didn't quite expect it to be this different. It is. First of all, it's weird not hearing Jason Isaac's voice. We still don't know what happened there. I would have loved to have him.
That's a new one.
Bit of a hiccup there. Sorry about everyone.
Sorry about that, folks. I want to know what that looked like for everybody else.
What happened?
I don't know. I think we're trying to put too many images into the show.
Oh.
So we'll have to be a little bit more careful with that. But we're still gonna have some images. But that was.
Oh, I wasn't the only one that disappeared.
No,
Yeah, we all
you
look at
got
that.
our
Oh,
own
wow.
show.
Okay.
Look at that. We're all gone.
It just closed me out. I'm like, what?
The StreamYard gods were like, "You're out of here."
It just told me it wasn't my fault. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Where was I?
What a fun blooper.
So you had just mentioned that it was a little jarring to not have Jason Isaacs in there, but
Right. So, like, yeah, that is a bit jarring. But I will say, like, Rupert Friend is doing a incredible job of emulating his performance, and I think he just looking at this, he looks great, and he sounds great. It is again a bit jarring to see that round of a face with such a a character, and it goes back to, I think a lot of people point out, and like, it's not just weird in the context of like, okay, it looks different from Rebels. It's like, we've seen the first time we saw a Powin is in Revenge of the Sith. And like, they have these and I guess obviously different actor, they have to fit it to the thing. It's obviously based on the performance. I get it, there was probably a very specific technical reason why this is happening, but it is a bit jarring to see this. Ultimately, just it just cracks me up. It just cracks me up, the fact that like they've spent like millions of dollars on like, we got to get Luke Skywalker, he's got to be perfect, he's got to look exactly like he does in the movies, and then they get this guy, they're like, it's fine, whatever, he looks kind of like him, just go with it. Whatever, it's not gonna make or break it for me, but I get it if anybody is like really off put by this, but it's gonna take some getting used to.
Yeah, when I first saw it, and in the first shot, I don't think it's lit very well, and it's kind of a weird angle, and it didn't shine through the way I would have liked to have seen it come through. The more I look at it, the more okay with it I am.
Me too.
The more I get used to it. And it's just, I do think it's fair to be a little bit jarred when you go from being used to seeing the characters one way to seeing them another way. I think it's fair to have a little bit of whiplash with that. But ultimately, there is a difference between how you design a character for live action and there's a difference for how you design it for animation. And look at any of the characters we saw first in live action, how they look in the animation. It's very stylized. Count Dooku's head is a cylinder. We talk about this all the time. Like, that's not how Christopher Lee looks. So what I have been expecting, maybe a little bit taller of a head on Rupert Friend, maybe a little bit more prosthetic there. Probably, yeah. I think I would have.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what we get, and especially in the shot with his lightsaber, the way it's framed, it works really well for me. The other shot, I'm hoping it'll look better in context, but this one with the lightsaber, I like it. It looks good.
It looks better.
I have two perspectives on this. On one hand, I'm like, I very rarely see this in other franchises where people are so specific about, we first saw this character in a comic book or an animated show, and now the live action version, it doesn't look enough like the animated version. Like that does seem a little bit absurd to me. To kind of like expect, the character to look like their CGI version. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me at all. And I understand, like, I've seen people do these photoshops where, like, let's make his forehead a little bigger and make the divots in his face a little bit more trunchy. And it's like, yeah, but that's a Photoshop. Like, that's a still. Like, you can't Photoshop a moving image like that, not without paying a lot of money to a VFX house that they probably don't want to pay because they're doing this practically as much as they can. So, and then also I've seen some people say like, oh, well, it's not that he doesn't look enough like himself. He doesn't look enough like the live action of the same species, Tion Medon and Revenge of the Sith. And like, okay, well, so the Grand Inquisitor in the animated show also doesn't look like Tion Medon. So, Wouldn't you rather him look like the character than this other member of his species? They shouldn't all look exactly the same. All the humans don't look exactly the same. So I think that was a bit much too. So on one hand, I'm very critical of that. On the other hand, I did kind of like jump back a little bit in my head when I first saw him. Like, oh, that's really cool. It's the Grand Inquisitor. Yes. Oh, wow. He definitely looks different than I would have expected. Like, I definitely will acknowledge that. Yeah, it's slightly jarring to see go from the stylization that they had to a person with paint on his face. But here's the thing. On the other side, too, to give some credit to these people, I do remember what happened with Sonic the Hedgehog. Like when they brought Sonic the Hedgehog into live action. It's still like a CGI, but a realistic CGI live action mocap type character in the Sonic movie. That trailer came out and everybody was like, we don't like this. This is too lifelike. This looks uncanny. This looks creepy. This looks weird. This is not the Sonic the Hedgehog that we know and love. Please fix this. This is awful. And what happened? They cartoonized it. They redid it in a slightly more cartoon looking way, and it looked a lot better. And in the movie actually ended up not being half bad for a movie based on a side-scrolling video game from 25 years ago. So like I do give people credit to voice their opinions on this. And if enough people talk about it, maybe they will find some way to tweak something in post to make him look a little bit more like the animated version. I don't put it past them to do that if enough people are talking about it. So yeah, I think that people are taking it a little bit too far. But at the same time, I think people have a right to give their opinion on it. And I feel like sometimes those opinions are heard. So it's fair to put them out there if you're doing it in a respectful, thoughtful way.
Yeah,
as,
and I think
as long as when we get a close up of the Grand Inquisitor, his skin and his face is like the corduroy pants quality as the same of Tiamadon, then I'm okay. Then I'm okay with anything. I'm good with everything else.
Right. Living underground, eating raw meat. That's how they got it.
I think it's just compounded. The reaction to this is compounded by the fact that like so many of the other like translations from live action, from animation to live action, have been so spot on. When you come off of like Bo-Katan looking exactly the same in both animation and live action, like it sets yourself up for like, well, they can do this obviously, but you know, it's a human. It's obviously different.
It's a piece of metal.
But you know, even so, I thought Cad Bane, I know a lot of people didn't like Cad Bane. I thought Cad Bane was almost spot on. I really didn't have any problems with that at all. I thought he was as close as they could get to like making that realistic in live action. So, you know, I think Cad Bane is a lot closer live action and animation than this is. But if you look at it long enough, it's you'll get used to it. It's just like your things like you I think people looking at this perspective of like, oh, you're comparing it Rebels to this. Compare this to Rebels. Look at like how realistic this guy looks, and look at how unrealistically like thin that the Grand Inquisitor's face is. In the, like nobody has a face that much. You know, nobody has a face that thin. It wouldn't work. They were gonna have to widen him out a little bit.
Dude, I will say, do any fans of Star Wars Rebels, like, you know, the hardcore fans who are like, yeah, this is one of the best things in Star Wars, which, again, people, I love that there are a lot of people that think that. There should be that hardcore fans for everything that effort is put into. Do any of you feel really validated by how sacrosanct people are holding this character? Because I could not have imagined, you know, 7 years ago, when, you know, Rebels was kind of getting some mixed feedback from fans and from critics. I couldn't imagine that people would have cared so much about it to be making such a visible thing about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even imagined that the character could have appeared in live action.
Yeah.
You know, as a Rebels fan, like, you know, I'm not in the super hardcore crowd, but I enjoyed the show a lot. I think it's really cool that the Grand Inquisitor is in this. I think it's really cool that the fifth brother is in this. I think it'll be really cool when Ezra and Thrawn and Sabine and everybody shows up in the Ahsoka show. Like I'm on board for all of this. This like Rebels Renaissance I'm here for it. I think you know, I've been rewatching some Rebels episodes lately and kind of given the reevaluation of the show all these years later, and there's a lot more in it that I like than I disliked. There's a handful of episodes that I never want to see again, and am seriously considering skipping as I rewatch it. But there's a lot of other ones where I'm like, this is really good, this is really entertaining, and just bringing it all in is really into the live action stuff is really exciting to me. And you know, for all of this talk about, you know, the translating the character from live action from animation into live action, like, to me the look, you know, yeah, I was a little bit jarred when I first saw the Grand Inquisitor, but as I said, I've gotten used to it. To me, the thing that is always more the character, and where I struggle more with the characters, is when they don't sound like how they did on the show. Yeah. You know, and again, Bo-Katan spoiled us because that was just a perfect scenario. Yeah. Just a perfect scenario. But, you know, when Ahsoka speaks in the live action shows, I kind of wish I could hear Ashley Eckstein say those lines. And you know, I think Rupert Friend does a really good job with what we get in this trailer. I'm excited to see his take on the Grand Inquisitor. But I kind of like to hear Jason Isaacs say those lines. You know, and it's because I think to me it's the voice was the only part of that was real, quote unquote. Yeah. Everything else was a drawing, a moving cartoon, like a beautiful animation. But the human part of all of that was the voice. And so I latch on to that. And so when they change, I can deal with the change in the look a lot more easily than I can with a change in the voice. Yeah. That said, it still doesn't make or break it for me. Obi-Wan doesn't sound exactly the same way he sounds on the Clone Wars that he does in this or in the films. Same with Anakin. Same with a lot of characters that we've seen animated, and you know that just means it's just a different take and a different take on Star Wars. And what I love about one of the things I love about the Star Wars franchise, quote unquote, is how it is this tapestry of different mediums, and so the different mediums are going to have differences in them, and so sometimes it takes some getting used to. I think it's fair to say that, but ultimately. This is what Joel says right here. It's capturing the spirit of the character. And if they can get that right with the Grand Inquisitor, which they seem to be doing, then, you know, I may still miss Jason Isaacs' sultry, over the top mustache twirling villain performance. But if they get the character right, then I don't mind.
So we're not about to watch the Dominic Jones cut of Solo with Harrison Ford's voice dubbed over all his performance. I was getting excited for a moment there. I'm like, that sounds interesting.
Just missed out. And Joel again with the super chat. Clone Wars Anakin sounds nothing like Hayden Anakin. And it's true. There's a few moments where I think Matt Lanter does emulate Hayden's performance, especially in the scenes with Palpatine, especially in the Zillo Beast episodes. But by and large, he's doing his own thing. He's not trying to be Hayden. He's trying to be Anakin. And as long as and you know, I think that's fair. Same with Rupert Friend. He's giving a performance as the Grand Inquisitor. He shouldn't try and be Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, I and this is kind of like, it's funny how we have the opposite end of the spectrum, where they will be like, they're very protective, understandably so. Like, I made a joke out of it earlier, and I've joked about it online, but like, I understand where they're coming from. I understand, like, they are extremely protective of someone like Luke Skywalker, and they know that they have to get it right. They're going to piss people off because they've pissed him off. They've got it right, and they've still pissed people off. So, you know, they are very scared to screw up that character, whereas most people watching Obi-Wan Kenobi will be like, who's this guy? Like
Mm-hmm.
they won't know the Grand Inquisitor. Like us Rebels fans that have been watching, like we know, but most people don't that are in the general audience. So they have more creative liberty. But I even though I'm like, oh wow, they did so great with Luke Skywalker, I really like that. And then this, I'm like, oh, it's kind of weird, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm ultimately like, yes, do more of that. Do more, just recast somebody and just go with it and try to create and let different actors do different things with the same character. Let's face it, Ewan McGregor is not the first person to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, yet here we are. People just accept that, but it's the simple fact that he did not originate that character. We're dealing with a recast here. I know it's a bad word, but it works sometimes.
Which is why Sebastian Stan should play Luke in all future Mandalorian era stories.
I'm telling you.
That was definitely DH Sebastian Stan in that trailer. Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Totally. You went right from Pam and Tommy to that.
Rock the side of his body digitally. Just ILM, brilliant.
Yeah. It's incredible. So we've gone kind of round and round on the Grand Inquisitor, but we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fifth brother as well, getting his jump into the live action. Any thoughts on this one?
I just love that image, and I'm hearing some people say that might not be Coruscant. That might be another planet.
I don't believe
Hong Kong. It's Dayu, I think is the name. It's like a Hong Kong
just a
planet.
D, yeah.
So
I'm a little sad that because I thought it was Coruscant at first when I watched the trailer, and I just am dying to see more of Coruscant. But again, ultimately, what I like about Coruscant is, the aesthetics of what it is rather than the exact, fact that it is Coruscant. So the fact that they're including planets, environments that are like city urban environments in this futuristic sci-fi space like Blade Runner is really cool. So I just, I kind of take more out of just like that whole thing where I'm just like, okay, this looks kind of like what the Star Wars Underworld series was going to look like, and so it's really cool saying that.
Looking at this shot in particular, that looks like it's out of that test footage.
Stormtroopers on Coruscant looks just like that.
Yes, like some of the other shots of Dayu, they have less of the neon lighting and stuff in there, and so they don't quite scream prequel trilogy quite as much to me. But this one with the fifth brother, if you told me, oh yeah, that's a second bit of test footage from Star Wars Underworld, I might have believed you.
And then you've been like, wait, they took the fifth brother out of the Star Wars Underworld scripts? Oh, wow, brilliant.
I mean, that's where they got Saw Gerrera, so stranger things have happened.
That's
and
right.
It is interesting that, like, the fifth brother is in this show. I feel like that's kind of a deep cut.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't get much of a characterization in Rebels. Like, I feel like Elizabeth, the seventh sister, like she was way more like dominant as like the primary antagonist that season.
And I mean, no disrespect to the dude who played the fifth brother on Rebels, but when your partner or your character's partner is voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar, you're going to be playing second fiddle.
Exactly. So, but I'm glad that like he's in this show. Like they could have just created all new Inquisitors. They created one new Inquisitor, but they could have done everyone new and just had their own thing going on here. Whereas they specifically chose the Grand Inquisitor, fifth brother, and who knows who else from Rebels to put in the show.
Oh my gosh, they better put the second sister in too.
That would be cool.
Oh, I'll be mad if they don't because that's my favorite one.
That would be cool.
Let's see. Is she still back there? Yep, there she is.
Yeah, in the background,
right back there.
The Black Series figure.
Where's the?
There it is.
That one right there.
So that was great for everybody listening. Just
Please
imagine.
Go to YouTube.
Just imagine that behind Chris was a Black Series figure of the second sister, and that's about what we were doing there. Any other thoughts on the trailer? Any other things you two want to bring up about it? Because we've gone through most of the characters.
Gosh,
but,
I think it might segue into what else we have to talk about, which is there was not a visual reveal at the end, but there was an audio reveal at the end that was pretty cool.
That was nice to hear, wasn't it? That was great to hear, and we'll be seeing that guy, I think. Entertainment Weekly did post one follow-up image today to go along with the article. And there it is. There he is. Darth Vader. I love this. This image almost looks like concept art to me.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's supposed to be a still from the show, and allegedly that's actually Hayden in the suit.
That's what it says. And see, like, it's cool that I love, like, going back to that room, going back to what we assume is Vader's castle here. And I love that, like, in Rogue One, you kind of get a shot of the back of his head, and it kind of looks like Hayden, and you see, like, the dummy that they created kind of looks like Hayden, but it's not Hayden. This is him, and I like the idea of, like, maybe we'll get that version of, like, a suit up scene, but it'll be for real this time, like, full on. We get to see him put the suit on, but it's Hayden Christensen, like, clearly.
Yeah,
it better be done as, like, an anime intro. Some just loud pop rock song playing over it, putting on the gloves, the helmet.
Yeah. By the way, we should mention, that a lot of what we talked about came from Entertainment Weekly, and they've got the Obi-Wan Kenobi cover for this. This is the final issue, the final print issue of Entertainment Weekly. Is this issue? Yeah.
Wow.
They're going strictly online from here on out, and so the Ewan McGregor his return as Obi-Wan Kenobi graces the final print issue of Entertainment Weekly,
or way to go out.
Entertainment Monthly, as it has more recently been. But so if you want, like, I'd like to grab some of the magazine covers just because I think they're kind of fun, cool collectibles, and they don't take up that much space. This one carries a little extra. It's not just it's not just a cool Star Wars thing, but it's a little piece of entertainment history. There it is, Ewan McGregor on the cover. That's awesome. So I think we've gone through some of the Entertainment Weekly pictures. The other ones, nothing jumps out at me as particularly noteworthy. If they would be, if we hadn't also gotten the trailer, like, so much of this tied in with what we saw in the trailer that I tried to incorporate as much of that into that discussion as we could. So any sort of final thoughts for now on the first wave of Obi-Wan Kenobi promotion?
I thought this was a great start. It was long overdue. I'm surprised that they waited this long. I mean, the show is going to be coming out in a little more than 2 months from now. So I'm surprised that they waited this long for our first visual looks at it, both in stills and in moving image form. So, but other than that surprise, definitely worth the wait. I think what we got, didn't reveal too much, so I thought they was a good balance between stuff that would excite us and not, over leaving some excitement, I think, for actually sitting down and watching the show for the first time. So yeah, I give them a pretty solid A+ on that day of marketing that they did, and week of marketing that they've done, and it's definitely gotten me. I think I've always been so hyped for this show. I think it's just kind of brought it a little bit more into my everyday experience of not just it being a thought, but a reality that it's happening.
Ben?
Yeah, it's finally we're here. I'm glad, because some people were saying, like, oh, they're gonna wait till May 4th to release a trailer. I'm like, no, please, God, no. I'm glad we're getting stuff in, and I think the image reveals can be just as exciting as some of the trailers sometimes. Thankfully, this was a really good trailer, good teaser trailer, and was accented by some really fascinating images that I think, and a lot of good information too. I highly suggest going and reading both of those articles. They're chock full of just not huge things, but like little hints at different things, and they're good at kind of teasing you along and giving you some good details. And I don't think I've caught all of them. I think StarWars.com did some stuff too, because I heard StarWars.com kind of confirmed a few things or explained a few more things in their breakdowns, but I didn't catch them all. But yeah, we're in this. It's happening, and makes it that much closer to being a reality, and giving us obviously confirming a lot of the rumors that we heard. I'm just gonna say that. And I love that. I love that it's all coming together, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. Yeah, like I said off the top, this was probably my favorite Star Wars trailer in a while. It did what it needed to do. It showed us a little bit of what we were waiting for, showed us a little bit of what we can be excited about, and teased a whole lot more to come. And I just can't wait for this series, and I'm so excited for it to premiere on May 25th, the 45th anniversary of Star Wars.
Amazing.
And as excited as I am for that on May 25th, I think I'm even a little bit more excited for the next day when we all get to talk about it together at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. We actually have an update about Star Wars Celebration after a long period of radio silence, and I think this announcement is good news. And there's a lot. There's a couple of things we're going to talk about in there. But we used to have an intro on the show for Celebration Anaheim that went, "Get your tickets, pack your bags, come and join the celebration." I think for this one, we should update it to "Get your vaccine, grab your mask, come and join the celebration." Pacific Coast Party. So we got the official celebration art has been revealed. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. We also there's some new information about tickets. So if you don't have tickets for Celebration, you'll be able to get tickets on March 15th. They'll go back on sale at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's 12 noon Eastern. You can get details at swca22.com/tickets, or just go to starwarscelebration.com. And if you bought tickets for Celebration 2020 or you bought tickets for Celebration 2022 already, you're good. You don't have to go through this process again. They've been sending out, I don't know if the two of you got this, but I know I got mine, a little QR code confirmation for everybody that had tickets for a previous celebration. So if you've already done that, you're all set. And
I've never gotten a order confirmation about something I bought 2 years ago.
Right? Right?
3 years ago, maybe at this point.
Seems like a video game pre-order for a Star Wars video game or something.
Yeah, a little bit. And they also revealed. They updated everybody on some of the health and safety procedures that will be in place for everybody at Celebration, given COVID is still a thing. Well, a lot of places were starting to try and pretend like it's not, but it's still a thing. So here's the updates. FDA or World Health Organization approved or authorized vaccines will be mandatory for all attendees aged 5 and up. Attendees under the age of 5 can provide proof of a negative test with a timestamp showing it was performed no more than 1 day before admission, if it's an antigen test, or 2 days before admission if it's a PCR test. And all attendees will be required to wear approved face coverings at all times. So we will look back at our pictures of Star Wars Celebration 2022 and be like, yes, that was the one that we all had to wear masks for. Which is
I'd love to be the people selling Star Wars masks at Celebration 2022.
This one, it's green, so it turns into my background.
Oh no. I was trying to see if mine was still in my pocket, but I threw it across the room, so I can't reach it right now.
Yeah. So if vaccines will be mandatory, there's a list of the accepted vaccines on the Celebration website. It does mean that if you're gonna have the 2-dose vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, stuff like that, You do need at least 2 doses, and the second dose does have to be at least 14 days before the start of the event or whatever your first day at the con is. So if you haven't got your vaccine yet and you want to go to Celebration, you still got time. Go out, get your shot. It's a good thing. Hurts a little bit, but it's a good thing. And also, if you're worried at all about it, mixing vaccines is also allowed. So if you're like me and you got a Pfizer and a Moderna shot, you're good to go.
Shots, y'all.
Yeah, you're good to go. But if you're over the age of 5, you can't use a negative test. So don't show up trying to use that at Celebration. So that's you can read all about that on the Celebration website. Everybody should have a look at it before they go. Just make sure that they're all set. Get your tickets on March 15th. Now, let's talk a little bit about this key art here.
Yeah,
it's looking pretty cool. Looking pretty cool.
This.
Yeah,
this is good.
There's a lot going on here. A lot more than you'd think because of the whole negative positive thing. Like the more I look at this, the more things I see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is cool.
And the characters, but I find it really interesting. The characters.
Yeah.
You have Vader.
Yeah.
Then you have Obi-Wan. Then you have Maul. Then you have Mando and Grogu. Then you have Ahsoka. Then you have Luke. Yeah. Okay, Luke and Vader, icons of the saga. They're going to be on every poster. Okay.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's getting her own show. Mando and Grogu have their own show.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan has his own show.
Yeah.
Maul. As of right now, does not have his own show.
Yeah.
Something there or make her relax.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to keep adding to this, I think I see the fire spray gunship over on the left side there. So that would cover the book of Boba Fett. And then everything else looks like pretty simple original trilogy heroes and villains.
BB-8 is BB-8 snuck in there.
Oh yeah, BB-8 is like the only real reference to the sequels. Honestly, I would say it could be just a prequel reference. Like let's add some prequels in there. I mean, obviously it also counts for Solo. It also counts for Clone Wars and Rebels. He's in a lot of stuff that could be represented here. If you take him out, then you don't have any representation really for some of that stuff. So, I don't know. It might be a hint, but I think that Maul is a strong enough character, just like Vader, to kind of just represent an entire part of Star Wars.
Yeah, I like that Obi-Wan is between Vader and Maul. And he has his lightsaber drawn, and all three of them had their lightsabers drawn. You can interpret it as he's fighting Maul and also fighting Vader.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Because it's a silhouette, you can't tell which he's facing. It's cool.
Yeah, and to your point, Chris, I think any of these characters on this poster could represent just an era of Star Wars or just a bit of Star Wars. I'm not going to read too much into it, but there were rumors. There were rumors at one point of an animated series, and it is interesting, the lineup there, and the lineup does also represent a lot of what's going on in Star Wars right now. So, maybe there's a little announcement to be made in the lead up to Celebration, or maybe at Celebration, or I don't know.
Who was it that famously said that one of the things that makes a Star Wars character is if you can see their silhouette and know who they are?
I feel like that's something Doug Chang may have said.
This poster obviously proves that, and perhaps just Maul is one of the more silhouette-y of Star Wars characters that can be easily thrown into a concept like this, as opposed to maybe Qui-Gon Jinn.
And it also helps with the Luke Skywalker silhouette that they're using the one pose we've seen a billion times. Same promotional art from A New Hope.
Yeah. We've seen that image literally for 45 years.
I know that pose, Luke.
And I'm pretty sure those aren't slices of pizza on the top right, but maybe they are.
I mean, you never know. Maybe it's a nod to Celebration's history when J.J. Abrams bought everybody pizza at Celebration Anaheim 2015.
Yeah. And they snuck the Razor Crest in there.
That's right.
Razor
That's
Crest
the
is in
last thing I noticed.
Yeah, R2 is in there at the bottom.
Yeah, Luke's land speeder down at the very bottom right.
I didn't notice that one until you mentioned it.
There's Death Star 2, and then there's a planetoid something off to
what
the
is
right.
that? I don't know what the thing on the right is. Is it an asteroid from the asteroid field?
Starkiller Base, Death Star, literally any planet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. What are you guys? I don't want to say expecting, but what are you thinking is likely to be revealed at Celebration? Like, I'm not talking about like wild dreams of like big announcements that are out there, like the Dexter Jetster show or something like that. But I feel like a lot of times people build up Celebration. They say, oh, they can announce this there, they can announce that there, they can announce whatever there. In my experience, that's not usually what Celebration is for. But I don't know. I'm curious. What do you two think? Do you think there's a chance this year we might see more announcements, or is it going to be just the classic? Let's preview the things we already know about.
Yeah, I do think there'll be a lot of previewing. I think Andor will be significantly into development, so I think it's very likely we could get a trailer or behind the scenes reel from Andor, and maybe a panel with some of the people involved in the project. I think Ahsoka will be a little bit early for us to see anything significant. They might be still they're likely to be still filming Ahsoka, I think, when
they'll probably have just started filming.
Yeah,
Ahsoka.
so maybe we'll get like an update from the set, like, hey, we're on the set filming Ahsoka right now, or like something like that. But I don't expect anything really major out of that one, because that one's going to be pretty new. I would love to have some more information about the Acolyte. Whatever they could bring about the Acolyte. That's Leslie Headland, I think.
Yeah,
is running that one. Yeah. If she was there, that would be amazing. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I think that's a potential option for them as well. And I would be curious to see. I think finally, I'd be curious to see if they have a Mando panel and if they use it to kind of give some hints about the next season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I want to say that, like, oh, they've been holding out on us, and that they're gonna drop a whole bunch of new announcements on us. But the fact that they have announced so many things that we haven't seen yet, not even promotional material or anything, or even know when they're filming, leads me to believe this is gonna be maybe a lot of catch up in regards to, like, okay, this is happening, this is still happening. We haven't canceled this, guys. It's actually real. And also, it's filming this day, and we've cast these people in it. And here's the cast and all this kind of stuff. They could do stuff like that and have the Acolyte and do a panel on it. And so, I hear Leslie Headland come out. Here's the cast. Here's the directors. All this kind of stuff. Yeah. They can do stuff like that and more fully reveal this stuff, which I think is just as exciting for me. Obviously, I want some new announcements, and they could still do that. They could drop a few new nuggets, but I think giving us up to speed on like all the stuff that they've announced. Okay, what's going on with that? I think that's going to be, healthy for discussion and stuff like that, and just knowing what's going on.
I will say too quickly that it is kind of really amazing that there's so much going on that we can't even imagine where they would find a space to produce or air anything other than what we're seeing, because we pretty much are expecting a full slate. I will say the other thing that I'm thinking about too is, while it's definitely going to be way too soon, I think, to see really anything significant with Rogue Squadron, I think it would be interesting perhaps to have a little bit of an update on maybe what we can expect to see with other Star Wars films, because there's all these other projects that we just don't know at what point in development they're at, or if they're actually happening or not. And it would be interesting to have maybe a little bit of a film canon update panel with maybe Kathleen Kennedy just going over, like, hey, here's the next 3 or 4 Star Wars films that you can expect to see in addition to the one that we've been talking about a lot.
Yeah, my sort of like dream panel for Celebration this year is just on Sunday, give us a panel that's a look ahead.
Yeah.
And, during the weekend, stuff that is a little bit more front of mind can have their own panels. Talking Obi-Wan, talking Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah.
I'm talking Mandalorian, because they got to do a Mandalorian panel, even if they don't show anything from season 3, just to talk about season 2.
Yeah.
You got to do that. Jedi Fallen Order sequel, things like that. That, High Republic things, not the show, but like the books, and things that are sort of happening now, front of mind. Andor, they got to have their own panels. They got to have their chance to, things that are either happening now or on deck. They got to get their chance to shine a little bit. But on the last day, just take us through some of those things that will be either in production or about to go into production, like Ahsoka, like Grammar Rodeo. Give us an update on the Accolade, on Rogue Squadron, maybe on Lando, maybe announce something. Maybe that's where you make just like a little cool announcement. And, I think Celebration at one point was heading in this direction, right? Like, you remember at Celebration Anaheim in 2015, on the last day, there was Gareth Edwards. There was the Gareth Edwards panel. It was supposed to be the Gareth Edwards and Josh Trank panel, but we know where that wound up happening. But that was supposed to be a look ahead. That was supposed to be looking down the line. Celebration 2016 in London, that was very Rogue One focused. But on the last day, they had this future filmmakers panel where they brought out Rian Johnson and Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And again, it's sort of like, you can see why they're a little hesitant to maybe do these things. But I think that's a panel that's worth doing. Just give everybody just quick little updates, even if it's just a bunch of nothing, hi, how are you videos from the showrunners, with like a little teasing piece of concept art. Just give people something to think about, to start to let it marinate in the back of their minds for a year or two, until it's time to actually see those shows and movies. So I'm that's something I would like to see. More likely, what I think will happen is you'll have a Kenobi panel on Thursday, a Mando panel on Friday, a Bad Batch panel on Saturday, maybe flip those two, and an Andor panel on Sunday. And there won't be any mention of anything else going on. Maybe during a Mando panel, they can tease the Ahsoka show because it's a spinoff of Mando. But other than that, my sort of pessimistic, realistic view is that there's not going to be much about the long-term future. They're going to keep the focus on the immediate future.
Yeah.
But I think it would be really fun to just give us those little teases, just quick little bombs about what's coming down the pipe. And and the weekend on a real high note. Have everybody buzzing when they leave and just wanting to keep the celebration energy going, which we'll want to do anyways, but just give us a little bit more.
Let's just have an announcement about when the next one is.
That, honestly, that's not a bad one to have either.
Because we don't always get that.
Yeah. And, it's been so long between the last two, right? Not intentionally, but it'll have been over 3 years between Chicago and Anaheim.
Crazy. God,
that feels like no time has passed between the two of them, and like 30 years has passed between the two of them.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It'll feel like that when we sit down to watch Rogue Squadron too, I think.
Yeah. It'll be like, weren't we just here for the Rise of Skywalker? No, that was 20 years ago. Oh my goodness. All right. So that's what's going on with Celebration. I know somebody asked in the chat, I think it was Matthew, asked about vaccine, proof of vaccine for people who aren't in the US. I can speak to my experience last summer in California for San Diego Comic-Con. They take, as long as you have some sort of government issued thing proving that you got your shots, they'll accept it from whatever country you're in. So I always would walk up to places and be like, I got my Canadian one. And they'd be like, yeah, whatever. Just, you got your shots. You're good to go. Go in. So, just something to bear in mind for the international fans out there. But yeah, there it is. We covered a lot. We covered a lot of ground in this episode. A banner week, I think here as we look ahead at Kenobi. But I think that's as good a place as any to begin to wind things down and wrap things up for this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching the episode on YouTube and for listening to the episode on your favorite podcast apps. Any reviews over there would be greatly appreciated. And please, if you haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back with another show right here on YouTube, same time, same place next week. And that time is 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. A half hour before, for our patrons, we do a bonus segment as well that we send directly to them to either be a part of or watch later. And of course, the Star Wars Underworld is what you can search to easily find our stuff for the Star Wars Underworld podcast on YouTube. In the meantime, at the SWU is our social media handle, where you can find memes and quotes of the day and many other great updates about Star Wars throughout the week on Twitter, on Facebook, on your favorite social media service. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, it was my pleasure. As always, I apologize to everybody that if I sound a little bit off, and I hope I didn't cough or sniffle on the microphone too much during the show. But yeah, what a fun week. What a great fun week with it's always a good time when Ewan McGregor comes around, when Obi-Wan Kenobi comes around, and I couldn't be more excited for this show, and I thought I was already pretty excited for it, but this trailer and these pictures just has me through the roof, and I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to watch it with people at Star Wars Celebration. I have a feeling that there might be something set up special for the premiere, and it might have the feeling of opening night for a Star Wars movie, which is a feeling I've been missing dearly these past few years. So I hope that can be made to happen. If not, oh well, we're still gonna have a grand old time watching the episode, and then a grand old time talking about it all weekend long at Celebration. So that's gonna do it for me. I will quickly mention that I meant to mention this off the top as well, but I forgot. But if you're going to be at Toronto Comic Con next weekend, not this weekend coming up, the one after, on Friday, I'm going to be doing a panel with our buddy Din and our friend Kareem about the hero's journey. And you should all come and check that out if you're going to be there. It's going to be a great time. It's on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is, Toronto time. So I don't know why we'd say 3 p.m. Pacific time if we were doing a panel in Toronto. So, but I just thought I'd throw that in there anyways. So yeah, come on down if you're going to be at Toronto Comic Con. But yeah, that's it. Can't wait to do all this again next week.
And if you're going to go down there, you can hit Dominic up at DominicJ25. Let him know that you're going to be going to that event. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, it was a pleasure as always, especially this week. It's always amazing, like watching these trailers and watching reactions and stuff like that. It's always fun to get in all the hype. I don't know how I can get more hyped and then get on this show and talk about it for 2 hours and somehow getting more hyped, getting more excited about what's to come. And it really is not lost on me. And I all the nitpicking, all of the complaining that you see online. Y'all don't let this pass you by. Do not take this for granted. We are living in a golden age of Star Wars. The world may be a mess, but Star Wars is great, okay? And you may not be able to go anywhere because the gas is too much, but guess what? You can watch Star Wars on Disney Plus all day if you want to. And there's more coming very, very soon. And the fact that we're getting an Obi-Wan show, it is the best thing that could possibly happen. It's so good, and it's right around the corner. So looking forward to talking about it and whatever else they throw at our face for the next couple months. Trailers, TV spots, whatever. I'm sure there'll be all of that. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And of course, you can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. And you can follow me at Seek3PO. And we want to thank everybody who gave a super chat as well. So thank you to that. Big shout out to Joel. I think he's got 2 weeks running with super chat. So appreciate it so much, Joel. And we'll tell you right what that's going to go towards. We're going to be upgrading from 720p to 1080p. So you can have a little bit better quality for all those images we're breaking down and stuff.
And then a few more super chats after that. We'll be going for 3D, so we'll just be reaching out of the screen.
You have to wear your glasses. for
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll ship glasses to you. We'll ship them to you as well. And then we're also looking to upgrade our audio equipment as well. You can see we have 3 different mics, and if you're listening to the audio, you can tell they sound very different. So our goal is to kind of get the same mic and get like a really good quality one, so that it's better not just for the visual experience but for the experience of people just listening as well. So anybody watching, please super chat on YouTube. That helps us raise money for that. And then if you're listening, a great way to support us is to go over to patreon.com/the SWU, where we're currently raising money for that, as well as for the best celebration experience that we can give everybody. And that's where you can get some stuff back as well for supporting us, like merch and exclusive content, like that pre-show that we do. And then finally, SW@underworld@gmail.com. That's that listener feedback line to send us feedback. And please check out all the other shows on our network, including Star Wars Culture, Ion Cannon, and Chatter Squadron. We have a video up of myself and Ben reacting on YouTube to watching the trailer. There's a phenomenal video up on Star Wars Culture of Hannah reacting. And Joel also has a video up of him reacting over on Ion Cannon as well. So check all of those videos out over on YouTube. So that's it. We're out of here. Until next time, my name is Chris, and for Dominic and Ben and all the other fantastic people of the Star Wars Underworld, may the Force be with you. Kenobi.
It's a wrap.